It's a genre they call Scandi Noir. Stieg Larsson's globally best-selling Millennium trilogy has sparked a popular cultural product that is getting not just a worldwide fiction audience for Scandinavian writers, but an international audience for moody Scandinavian television series from The Killing to The Bridge to Borgen. The mainstays of this genre are social realism, moral complexity, a tormented emotional freeze, and a sombre mood conveyed by the traditional chiaroscuro of the genre. In most respects, it is a cliched format, though far from exhausted. But the break that Scandi Noir makes with old-fashioned crime noir is that the heroes are usually female. Traditionally, crime noir is focused on an obsessive, isolated male, cynical and wised up by a rough world. Where women have a role, it is as femme fatale or helpless victims. But the heroes or anti-heroes of Scandi Noir are women who approach their world with obsessive intelligence and occasionally ruthless sang-froid. Their characteristics are usually shown in vivid contrast with a male detective partner who is more averagely human but less clever and intuitive. This is a deliberate step. Søren Sveistrup, the producer of the popular program The Killing, began writing the show partly out of sheer disappointment with the quality of the female characters offered by crime drama, as reported by The Independent. The whole picture of female detectives was so disappointing. High-heeled detectives with a lot of mascara, looking good, model types, dating the guy from forensics during the investigation. You just couldn't believe in it. So the character of Sarah Lund, the lead murder detective in The Killing, is a single mother who prefers jeans and knitwear to mascara. The Lund character is deeply masculine, based in part on Clint Eastwood's crime characters. The actress Sophie Grabol told The Guardian that the role required that she walk like a man as part of her portrayal. Likewise, Saga Norén in The Bridge is an obsessive, oblivious to social norms. It's implied that she has Asperger's, lives alone, asks directly for sex from strangers in bars, favours the sartorial normcore, and wears no makeup. Whereas the Millennium books are concerned with misogyny and rape culture, Borgen comments on the inhumane anti-immigrant politics of Denmark. Political themes radiate throughout the entire genre. To see how these themes work out, let's look at two of the most popular dramas, The Bridge and The Killing. The Øresund Bridge connects Denmark with Sweden. For 45 seconds one night, all the lights on the bridge go out. A man in leather gloves drives a car down the empty lane, leaves a bisected dead woman on the middle of the tarmac, and right on the border between the two countries, and drives off. And this is the mystery that opens The Bridge. The hero, Swedish police detective Saga Norén, arrives on the scene and immediately encounters a strange moral dilemma which proves something about her character. A woman, desperate to get to hospital where her husband needs a heart transplant, begs for the road to be open. Norén flatly says he'll have to wait and walks off.
Min mand, han er i ambulancen. Han har et hjerte i København. Han skal have en hjertetransplantation. Det er meget, meget vigtigt, at vi kommer igennem nu.
Han får vänta lite till, för jag kan inte släppa igenom dem.
It transpires that what has been left on the bridge are the upper and lower halves of two murdered women. Kerstin Ekwell, the chairman of the Malmö Council, and Monique Brummer, a sex worker and drug addict. And the unusual mise-en-scene created by the murderer already suggests that the killings are a metaphor for something else. And in a recorded message addressed to police, the killer says,
Vår del av världen skulle kunna vara en fantastisk plats om vi bara försökte lösa de problem som alla vet finns. Jag vill peka på 5 specifika. Kvinnorna på bron är alltså bara början. Det kommer att bli en intressant tid för oss alla.
His next steps, poisoning the homeless and then inducing a series of murders by paranoid schizophrenics, implies some form of strange social criticism wrapped up in his murders. And indeed, as he styles himself as the truth terrorist, he drip-feeds his critique to the unethical journalist Daniel Ferbe. For example, about the homeless killings he offers,
Om man ska hårdra det så borde vi egentligen inte bli så upprörda över det som har hänt. Lika många uteliggare fryser ihjäl varje år utan att det blir såna här inslag.
When they finally catch a suspect and question him, he is skillfully manipulative, appearing reasonable and calm. And as the story unfolds, it allows us to think that his truths are a decoy, a cover story for something far more personal. And this leaves the status of the truths he has imparted unclear, and yet for the purposes of the drama, resolving the crimes necessitated getting up close with the dark side of the Scandinavian dream. Social indifference to the homeless and mentally ill, the exploitation of children, the mistreatment of migrants, and the inequality before the law of unequal citizens. And what is more, it raises questions about why the brutalities and deaths associated with these issues are only shocking if an individual psychopath is responsible. The political layers of the programme continue in subsequent episodes, with self-proclaimed eco-terrorists targeting a climate conference in Season 2 and murders linked to the breakdown of traditional families in Season 3. And if the show was boiled down to its cliches, it would be unremarkable. The lone genius detective who has more in common with the killer than she is comfortable with, the psychotic genius who plays everyone like a fiddle, the mismatched police duo whose interactions spark humour and pathos, but somehow it is more than the sum of those parts. In The Killing, Sarah Lund is being seen off by her colleagues on the verge of leaving her force in Denmark to live with her partner in Sweden, until the 19-year-old Nana Birk Larsen turns up raped and brutally murdered. At this point, Lund is morally blackmailed by her boss into dropping all her plans and teaming up with her would-be successor, Jans Meyer, to solve the case. This comes at great cost to her relationship with her son and her partner.
Bengt.
Kanske gick vi för snabbt fram med flytten till Sverige.
Nej.
Ta hand om dig.
And evidence initially connects the murder to the liberal Copenhagen mayoral candidate, Troels Hartmann, and all signs seemingly point to high-level political corruption. But nothing is so simple. The clues leave everyone potentially implicated, and like many noir heroes, Lund proves to be a rugged individualist, breaking the chain of command in order to go off on her own crusade, which ends up with her being demoted. Season 2 leads the viewer through the questions raised by war and terror as the murdered bodies of Anne Dragsholm, a military legal advisor, and Alan Mig Poulsen, a soldier, turn up. Lund's old boss, Lennart Brix, sends a police inspector, Ulrich Strange, to ask her to investigate the case, and she is initially reluctant. Tell Brix it's of no interest, but she can't help herself. Indeed, she is the one who ends up having to justify her role in the case as her past record of reckless crusading is thrown in her face.
Situationen ændret nu, men det dine papirer ikke. Der en hel del disciplinære problemer, toppet af en trussel mod en kollega med et skarpladt våben.
Initially, Dragsholm's murder is linked to Islamists since, before she is brutally stabbed to death, she has been forced to read a videoed statement condemning the hypocritical Danish government and the infidel Danish people for crimes against humanity in Afghanistan. What's more, as the series progresses, there appears to be some evidence of a link to war crimes committed by Danish troops in Afghanistan, which Dragsholm knew about and which the government was covering up. And as evidence accumulates that in fact jihadists didn't carry out the murders, the government pressures Justice Minister Thomas Buch, who is driving the police investigation, to continue scapegoating jihadists in order to justify new anti-terrorist legislation.
Gerne gøre noget, men efterforskningen er kompliceret.
Men alt peger på fundamentalisme. Vi bliver angrebet af terrorister.
In this series, Buch stands out as an unlikely sort of hero, a principled politician in a cynical government, having to outflank those who are determined to shut down his inquiries. He learns that the government has decided before they've heard the evidence that the defense minister implicated in the murders in Afghanistan is innocent and that his proposed anti-terrorism package should go ahead.
De sagde, at forsvarsministeren vil blive renset, og at afstemningen om terrorpakken vil være på programmet i morgen som planlagt.
Hvordan kunne statsministeriet vide, at forsvarsministeren ville blive renset, inden mødet i Sikkerhedsudvalget var begyndt?
Det var det, jeg heller ikke kunne forstå.
He is furious and sets about obstructing the law and unearthing the evidence against the defense minister, which he then presents to a cabinet meeting with impressive fury.
Forsvarsministeren intet for at undersøge omstændighederne omkring den hånd og mistanken om drab på civile. Det er i sig selv fuldstændig ufatteligt. Men sjovt nok var det lige præcis det, der sikrede statsministeren arbejdsro til at få en ekstra bevilling og en optrapning af krigen med 200 mand vedtaget i Folketinget.
Prøv nu at høre her. Undersøgelsen af den hånd tog bare længere tid end forventet, men konklusionen den var jo tydelig, ikke?
Hvem fanden så overhovedet tro på noget som helst, du siger? I kunne have lukket munden op for længst, men i stedet er 5 mennesker blevet dræbt, og vi har alle sammen spildt tid med det sædvanlige skræmmebillede af muslimske terrorister.
As with The Bridge, the complicated political connections in this program turn out in each case to be in part a decoy. The murder in season 1 is a banal and pitiful affair, the actions of a jealous and violent man. In season 2, the actual killer has used a real political context to obscure his real motives. Yet again, what is discovered about Danish politics and society is bad enough, and the dead bodies have acted as a MacGuffin, allowing us to see that in full. However, we would be mistaken for seeing progressive politics as the sole or even main virtue of Scandi Noir. These shows contain a critique of the political establishment and of social injustice, but their key advantage may be that they refuse to let viewers second-guess the characters and their motives. Sometimes crime noir deals in moral simplicity. This is certainly true of the Eastwood vehicles that are referenced in the Lund character. But Scandi Noir, with its racing plots and continually evolving mysteries, shows how hard and abstract moralities yield to a more exact estimate of the subtlety and complexity of life.